Good evening, friends. Let us be still, just for a breath. Feel the quiet that's here before a single word is spoken. What if the most powerful healing isn't something you get from the outside, but something you notice on the inside, right now? What if the secret isn't a technique at all, but a shift of awareness so simple that it slips past noise, argument, and even religion's best intentions? Tonight we open a door some call banned, not because truth can be outlawed, but because the living presence can't be owned, branded, or managed. This isn't against any church, it's an invitation beyond the outer altar to the inner sanctuary. When prayer stops asking and becomes awareness, when we release the urge to persuade God and rest in God, harmony begins to surface. Not as spectacle, but as the natural state of a heart no longer divided, clarity in the mind, peace in the body, grace in relationships, wholeness revealing itself. Stay with me, breathe. Let the words slow down inside you. If this resonates, please like the video, subscribe, and drop the symbolic number 777 in the comments to say, I'm ready to rest in presence. In a moment, I'll share the one sentence that turns pleading into communion. And when you try it with me for 60 seconds, notice what happens to your breath and your heartbeat. Are you willing to let the next silence do the proving? Good evening, friends. Let us be still, just for a breath. Feel the quiet that's here before a single word is spoken. What if the most powerful healing isn't something you get from the outside, but something you notice on the inside, right now? What if the secret isn't a technique at all, but a shift of awareness so simple that it slips past noise, argument, and even religion's best intentions? Tonight we open a door some call banned, not because truth can be outlawed, but because the living presence can't be owned, branded, or managed. This isn't against any church, it's an invitation beyond the outer altar to the inner sanctuary. When prayer stops asking and becomes awareness, when we release the urge to persuade God and rest in God, harmony begins to surface. Not as spectacle, but as the natural state of a heart no longer divided, clarity in the mind, peace in the body, grace in relationships, wholeness revealing itself. Stay with me. Breathe. Let the words slow down inside you. If this resonates, please like the video, subscribe, and drop the symbolic number 777 in the comments to say, I'm ready to rest in presence. In a moment, I'll share the one sentence that turns pleading into communion, and when you try it with me for 60 seconds, notice what happens to your breath and your heartbeat. Are you willing to let the next silence do the proving? So let's shift from asking to awareness. Petition begins with the assumption that life is withholding, and we must persuade it. Awareness begins with the recognition that presence is already here, whole, unhurried. When we ask and ask, the mind rehearses lack. When we notice, the heart relaxes into what is, and in that relaxation harmony can surface without strain. Awareness is not passivity, it is clear seeing. It does not beg the sun to rise, it opens the blinds. Feel how petition contracts the body, the brow tightens, the breath grows shallow, the chest leans forward toward a future answer. Now feel how awareness softens, shoulders settle, breath evens, attention widens. In awareness, you are not trying to make a current move, you are becoming transparent to a current that is already moving. Healing in this sense is less a fix and more a revelation, the lifting of a veil that effort drew across the face of the obvious. Consider the difference between talking to a friend nonstop and sitting with a friend in quiet understanding. Petition is the nonstop talking, awareness is the quiet understanding. The moment you realize you are heard, speech becomes unnecessary and the relationship itself begins to speak. Many prayers fail not because they are unworthy, but because they reinforce the felt distance between the one who asks and the one asked. Awareness dissolves that distance by dropping the premise that there was distance at all. Try a simple shift now. Instead of telling life what is wrong, acknowledge what is changeless. You might inwardly say, I recognize the presence of peace here. Then stop. Not to get peace, but to notice it. Not as technique, but as recognition. Let the mind rest like a hand unclenching. Let the breath be received rather than controlled. Each time thought reaches for a plea, return to a quiet, I am aware, and let the sentence end in silence. The silence is not empty, it is saturated with a kind of luminous okayness that does not need your management. Awareness is not opposed to action, it clarifies action. From awareness, you answer the email, call the doctor, make amends, take the walk, but without the frantic subtext. And because the subtext changes, outcomes often shift. Even when they don't, suffering lessens because the inner knot is untied and the situation is met from wholeness rather than from panic. This is why many discover that insight itself changes physiology, muscles release, digestion steadies, the immune system gets out of emergency mode, and the body's native intelligence resumes its work. If you were tuning a radio, petition would keep jiggling the dial and complaining about the static. Awareness would grow quiet enough to let the signal emerge, then set the dial and listen. The signal was here all along, but loudness of effort covered it. So we practice micro pauses through the day in the car before turning the key, at the sink, between messages, at red lights, before you hit send, when a symptom flares, when a worry story starts. Return to noticing. You are not fixing thought, you are seeing through it. In that seeing, the center of gravity shifts from demand to discovery, and what seemed outside begins to be felt as here, in simple, living awareness. From here, the axis turns from ritual toward inner presence. Forms have their beauty. Candles, chants, sacraments, mats, malas, but they are the cup, not the water. The danger is subtle. We begin to lean on the form for power it never had, and in that leaning we overlook the quiet aliveness that the form was meant to reveal. Inner presence is the essence. Ritual is the reminder. If the reminder replaces the essence, we end up memorizing the menu and never tasting the meal. Notice how the mind loves sequence. First say this, then stand here, then light that, then repeat. There's comfort in choreography because it gives uncertainty a script. Yet presence is not summoned by steps, it is recognized by stillness. The instant you pause and become aware of the awareness that is noticing, before words, before motions, you are already at the altar. No corridor of procedures needed. The holiness is not in the posture of the body, but in the uncontrived openness of the heart. This doesn't make ritual wrong, it restores it to a role. Let form be a doorway, not a destination. If the candle helps you settle, light it. If a mantra focuses your attention, whisper it. But check the inner posture. Are you using the ritual to get to presence, or is presence using the ritual to express itself through you? One approach strains, the other overflows. The first seeks a result, the second enjoys a relationship. In the first you measure, in the second you marvel. Consider a simple experiment. Before your next practice, prayer, meditation, service, pause for a single breath and acknowledge inwardly, that which I seek is already here. Let the words be a key, not a wall. Then proceed, but keep returning to the felt sense of aliveness that precedes the activity. If the mind wanders, don't scold it, re-notice the quiet awareness that is noticing the wandering. In that re-noticing, the ritual is infused with the very life it points to. Inner presence dissolves the superstition that blessings are locked behind flawless performance. You don't have to say it just right to be received by what is already embracing you. You don't have to sit perfectly still to be met by stillness. The body can tremble, tears can fall, the room can be noisy, and yet the core remains available. When dependency on form relaxes, compassion increases because you stop policing your own experience and begin welcoming it. That welcome is healing in itself, nervous system settling, breath deepening, muscles loosening, because the body hears the message, we are safe enough to open. In daily life, let ordinary moments become sacraments. The steam from the kettle, the warmth of the mug, the hush before you answer a text. These are bells without towers. Touch the doorknob and remember presence. Feel your feet in the checkout line and remember presence. Hear a complaint rise and remember presence, not to suppress the complaint but to meet it with clarity. The more you relate directly to the inner aliveness, the less you need elaborate context to sense the sacred, and paradoxically, when you do enter sacred spaces, they feel more alive because you are the aliveness you sought, carrying the same quiet into every room. From here, silence becomes prayer, not a punishment of the tongue, but a resting of the heart. Silence is not the absence of sound, it is the absence of struggle. It is the moment the inner hands stop gripping outcomes and simply open. In that opening, something whole, already complete, begins to make itself known, like a lake revealing sky when the wind settles. Stillness is not numbness, it is vivid. Colors seem truer, edges kinder. You feel the chair supporting you, the ground receiving your weight, the breath moving without your management. The mind may continue to place words on the screen, but behind the words is a soft luminosity that does not argue or defend. To sit in this quiet is to let beingness pray for you through you as you. Think of a snow globe. When you keep shaking it, the flakes never settle and the scene cannot be seen. If you set it down, clarity appears by itself. Many of us live as constant shakers, fixing, explaining, petitioning, rehearsing, so the inner scene stays cloudy. The moment we allow stillness, the flakes of thought descend, and what was always there returns to view. Wholeness is not constructed, it is unveiled. You do not have to schedule an hour to meet this silence, though unhurried time can be sweet. Touch these pauses throughout the day. Before speaking, feel the space that exists between intention and sound. In that space, listen. Let the words arise from the quiet rather than from the itch to fill it. The resulting speech tends to be simpler, kinder, more accurate, because it carries the resonance of the silence out of which it came. Silence also welcomes whatever arises. If agitation appears, it is heard. If sorrow arrives, it is held. Stillness does not mean you stop feeling. It means feeling is met without the extra layer of resistance. This is why healing follows stillness, not because you forced a change, but because you removed the friction that distorted what already is. Like a mistuned instrument brought into harmony, the body, the emotions, the mind begin to resonate with a deeper, steadier note. Approach this as intimacy, not as technique. Let your senses be gateways. Hear the hum of the refrigerator, the distant traffic, the rustle of your own clothing, and notice that awareness is nearer than all of it. Taste your coffee and find the quiet that tastes it. Rest your eyes on a single leaf and feel the seeing effortless, complete. These are not tricks, they are recognitions. Each recognition is a wordless amen. If you practice in places where noise and hurry are normal, do not wait for perfect conditions. Learn the inner room that travels with you, a breath in the elevator, a pause before a reply, a softening of the belly while washing dishes. Let life keep happening, and let stillness run under it like a river, steady, unseen, nourishing the banks. When interruptions come, welcome them into the water. When joy bursts in, let it sparkle on the surface. When fear knocks, meet it at the shoreline and listen until it tells you what it was guarding all along, and keep walking with the river within. From this river, learn the art of letting go of push, of the inner clench that tries to force bloom. Rest from effort and let grace do the work. This rest is not idleness, it is trustful availability. You stop yanking at the sprout and instead give it light and room. You stop blowing into the sail and instead raise the mast. Set the canvas and let the wind fill it. The same intelligence that moves tides and opens flowers at dawn is already moving through your breath, your heartbeat, your intuitions. When you unclench the manager within, that intelligence has less obstruction in which to move. Feel the difference in your body between striving and allowing. Striving narrows the gaze, tightens the jaw, speeds the mind, and exhausts the nervous system. Allowing widens the field, softens the face, slows the inner tempo, and invites the body's own repair to resume. You do not command sleep, you allow it by creating a condition in which the natural process can come forward. Grace is like that, ever present, looking for openings. Rest is the opening. This rest is not resignation, it is alignment. Think of a river stone. It does not argue the current, it lets the water do the polishing. Think of a musician after years of scales who finally releases effort and plays from the center. The fingers still move, but the strain is gone. When you let grace take the lead, action continues. Emails get sent, meals get cooked, decisions get made. But the inner commentary grows quiet and the quality of doing shifts from grind to glide. Practice micro-surrenders. When the impulse to fix surges, pause for a single breath and feel that you are being breathed. When urgency spikes, place a hand on the heart and let the rhythm remind you that life is beating you without your supervision. When a problem loops, say inwardly, I am willing to be carried, and wait 3 counts before the next move. Often in that space, a simpler step appears, or the need to act at all reveals itself as imagined. Grace loves the uncluttered moment. Notice how much of your fatigue comes from arguing with what is. The argument seems productive, but it is friction. Rest removes the friction so that energy returns to the task at hand. Paradoxically, outcomes often improve not because you muscled harder, but because you stopped tangling the work with fear. Even when outcomes don't change, the suffering around them lessens, because you are no longer living two lives, the one unfolding and the one you are trying to impose. Look for where grace is already at work, the conversation that unexpectedly softens, the timing that aligns without your planning, the insight that arrives in the shower, the solution that appears on a walk. These are not accidents, they are what becomes visible when the noise of effort dims. Meet them with gratitude, and let that gratitude deepen your willingness to be shown rather than to force. If you need an image, be the soil, not the gardener. The soil doesn't strain to grow the seed, it receives, holds, nourishes, and makes room. Your part is availability, warmth, openness, steadiness. Grace turns that availability into growth you could not have engineered by willpower alone. Soften the brow, unclench the stomach, widen your attention, and let yourself be moved rather than constantly moving, letting the current that brought you this far continue its quiet, skillful work. As you are moved rather than moving, you begin to sense that the one moving you is not elsewhere, not later, not in someone else's keeping, but here, immediate, native to your own awareness. Communion, then, is direct. It does not depend on a go-between, however wise or loving. Teachers, texts, and traditions can point, bless, and companion us, but they are fingers toward the moon, not the moon. The meeting you long for is already taking place at the center of your being, and the most honest posture is to notice it. This does not dismiss sacred guidance, it clarifies its purpose. Let every helper be a mirror that returns you to the inner teacher. When words land, feel how they light up something you already knew by feel. When counsel confuses, pause until your inner resonance says yes. Borrowed certainty soothes for a moment, realized certainty steadies for a lifetime. Direct communion cultivates realized certainty, the quiet embodied recognition that does not argue or brag because it is rooted, not propped. How do you enter this communion? By subtracting, not adding. Drop the search image of how it should feel. Release the idea that you must qualify, impress, or prepare the presence. Let attention rest back into itself, aware of breath, of warmth in the palms, of the space behind the eyes, and then notice the noticing. That simple pivot from content to awareness opens the inner sanctuary. You need no passcode. The door is the seeing that you are already inside. Discernment matters here. The ego can impersonate guidance, arriving loud, rushed, or dramatic. The inner voice is gentle, steady, and strangely unanxious about being obeyed. False urgency demands, true guidance invites. False guidance narrows your heart and isolates you. True guidance widens your compassion and includes others without losing yourself. Test it by fruit. Does this direction leave you clearer, kinder, quieter, more available to life? If not, keep listening. Practice brief communions. Place a hand on the heart and inwardly whisper, "Here." Let "here" be your whole prayer. Or say, "Behold," and simply behold, no commentary. Or, "I consent," and feel the body's release. In conversation, pause a heartbeat and listen from the chest as much as the ears. In decision, let the question rest overnight inside silence and see what remains in the morning. The inner altar prefers unhurried honesty to elaborate offerings. Notice how relationships shift when you stop outsourcing your center. You can honor mentors without mythologizing them. You can receive medicine, therapy, teaching, and friendship as gifts without making them your source. Gratitude deepens, dependency loosens. You stop waiting for someone to hand you permission and begin moving with a native authority that is quiet, humble, and firm. Boundaries clarify because they arise from inner listening, not from reactivity. Generosity flows because you are drawing from a well within, not from performance. When you do seek counsel, treat it as an echo, not an order. Hold it up to the light of your own awareness. Does it ring true in the body? Does it harmonize with the deepest note you recognize? If yes, proceed. If no, wait. Waiting is not failure, it is fidelity to the relationship that matters most. Make ordinary places into chapels. A parked car becomes an inner sanctuary. A bathroom break is a minute, long retreat. The moment before you knock, the second before you hit send, the breath before you answer. Each is an opening into direct communion, beyond intermediaries, where the next honest step becomes quietly obvious and you keep listening, available, available, noticing not once but many times, as if sprinkling the day with tiny bells of awareness. The nervous system learns by repetition. What you repeat becomes easy. A few seconds of recognition many times a day shifts the baseline from crisis to presence. Think of it as sipping water often rather than chugging rarely. Hydration of the heart. Keep recognition simple. One breath will do. Inhale and feel a wah. Exhale and feel a low. Or place a hand over the heart and whisper inwardly, here. Let the word finish in silence. You are not summoning anything, you are acknowledging what already is. Sincerity matters more than length. 10 honest seconds change more than 10 strained minutes. Use transitions as bells. Every doorway, feel your feet, soften your gaze, remember presence. The moment your hand touches a doorknob, that's a cue. Red lights, relax your jaw, notice the space around your head, release your shoulders. Before hitting send, pause, feel the breath, listen for the quiet note under the words. Before you answer a call, one breath, inner, yes, then speak. Let your environment help. Rename phone alarms to be still, notice, or simply place a small dot sticker on your laptop mirror or steering wheel. Each dot is a recognition point. Make your lock screen a single word, here. Each glance becomes practice without extra time. Try micro rituals that fit anywhere. Three times a day. 3 breaths, 3 words, aware. Allow, appreciate. A 5 senses reset. Name silently. One thing you see, hear, feel, smell and taste. Then rest as the one who is aware. Palm warm, rub your hands lightly, feel the warmth. Then feel the awareness that feels it. Step prayer with each footfall. I, a left, am right. Letting the body set the rhythm. Use recognition, especially when you forget. The moment you notice you've been lost in thought for an hour, that noticing is recognition. No scolding, just aware, and a soft return. Make forgetting part of the practice, and the trap of self-judgment loosens. Bring recognition into conversations. While listening, rest attention an inch behind the breastbone. Let that quiet listen with you. When emotion surges, feel the soles of your feet and lengthen the exhale by 1 count. When tempted to interrupt, taste the silence for half a second, then let words arise from there. Weave it into work. Before opening a new tab, half-breath pause. When the calendar pings, close your eyes for 2 seconds and sense the space around your body. After finishing a task, sit back, exhale, and register the simple fact of being before the next click. These micro bookends turn momentum into mindful flow. Fold it into care of the body. While washing hands, feel the water as blessing. While drinking, sense the coolness and the awareness that notices it. Stretch once an hour, and let the stretch end in stillness for 2 counts, not to achieve flexibility, but to recognize the flexible attention that's here. Enter rest with it. As you lie down, feel the bed holding you and say inwardly, held. If you wake at night, don't hunt sleep. Feel the breath breathing itself, and let recognition be enough. On waking, before reaching for the day, 1 breath of here, and let the day reach for you. Let these brief recognitions pervade the ordinary until ordinary feels permeated. The thread of presence bright between tasks, between words, between breaths, and you keep returning not out of duty, but because the taste is unmistakable and near.